Hello, people. I'm Page, and if you're watching this and you're seeing the weird title I put on, I bet Chad Cat's gonna show up any minute now. So I'm gonna say the first part for him. He ain't quitting YouTube. So what chapter am I talking about specifically? Well, a few months ago, I decided it was finally time for me to set out to do something I promised I'd do ever since a particular incident that happened 10 years ago. I really don't know how to describe it except to show off the videos I recorded for the members talking about it a few weeks back. So it's going to have everything I said in the earlier videos plus the new ones. So let's start my journey in 3 parts.
Part 1. In the beginning.
The story begins in summer of 2013. I had just finished 10th grade. I was 16 years old and I was a wreck. Like, really, really bad. Like, if something didn't change, bad things were going to happen. That much is what I'll say. Basically, I finished 10th grade and I hated it. I absolutely hated everything about it. When I finished freshman year of high school, a year prior, there were some things I could use improvement. There were some things I didn't like about myself. There were things I didn't like about school, but ultimately I did find my positives. There was an English teacher who I really admired and gave me the courage to keep going. There was a principal who empathized with my autism and assured me that everything would be fine. There was a gym with a basketball court that I could play in after lunch to kind of like work off some energy and keep my mood up. There was a vending machine also where I could buy soda so I could stay awake in my post-lunch classes. And the one thing I really looked forward to that was there was drama club. Yes, I was a theater kid. Judge me. I performed my little heart out and I loved everything about it. It was those things along with some good friends I had that helped me get through 9th grade. And I figured if I could keep at least some constants from there, everything would be fine. Entering sophomore year, I kind of knew my English teacher wasn't going to be there because, well, she's a freshman English teacher, of course. But I didn't know she'd be retiring and moving to the elementary school. So I don't even get to see her anymore, which kind of stinks. But that's fine. At least I can keep myself awake with the vending machine, right? Gone. The basketball court, closed. Drama club, they never had another play. I did do quiz bowl, but they kicked me out for failing an elective course. That's another time. But worst of all was the principal. My favorite principal retired, and in his place was my middle school principal. And without getting into too many details, she was a bitch. She never understood the importance of mental health, and it really showed. Combine all the changes with the stress of schoolwork and everybody looking for every excuse to call me homophobic slurs before I even understood what I liked yet. And then add that I actually failed world history because I was not aware that the note handouts were assignments that were part of the grade. And by the time I finished, I broke down. I begged my parents to pull me out, and they did. I felt like crap, but we all agreed that in the end, it was the best decision I could make for my mental health. I spent the next 2 years in an online school, and at first I was excited for the idea of online school because, like, it was like them online college ads, earn your degree on your own time, learn at your own pace, that kind of stuff. What they don't tell you in the ads is that you still have to attend a group call every day at 8 o'clock in the morning. So at my own pace and on my own time kind of go right out the fucking window. Anyway, I tried that for 2 years and I couldn't keep up because my internet was crap and I had to deal with like appointments and stuff from like mental health, physical health, among other things. So after 2 years, I just dropped out completely and I spent many years trying to find myself. And part of that journey was making YouTube videos, both on the old channel that no one needs to look at and this channel. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been rough, like living with my parents, watching my local peers graduate and grow up all around me and wondering what I'm doing with my life. But because I do desire employment, like I do want to touch grass and find a real job someday, I figured it would be worth trying to get an equivalency test. So I've spent years off and on doing the equivalency tests in my state, or at least the practice ones, because I couldn't afford to do the real ones yet. And from what I could assess, I did very well. And I would totally be prepared to go do it. The only thing stopping me was me. I didn't like the idea of spending what could turn up to be upwards of nearly a couple $100 to go take tests to hopefully get an equivalency certificate, only to fail, humiliate myself, and spend more money to do it again. And I could take it for free with vouchers if I did classes. But at first I didn't like the word classes because when I hear classes, I think about like being in a room full of people again. And I just can't, you know. But after pondering over my future and the current state of economics and politics, and having to deal with endless nightmares of being back in school again, I decided enough was enough. I booked some appointments with a local facility, and it turned out their classes weren't so bad. They actually were what I wanted from my online school. Like, they signed me up for classes that I can take online. These are courses, right? I take pre-tests and they determine what lessons I'm exempt from based on what I already know. And all the lesson plans basically involve being on the computer, reading stuff, researching stuff, doing little activities, and taking quizzes. It's like what I wanted from the online school to begin with. And all I had to do was do it for 5 hours a week, and I could handle that. And I felt really good doing it. And I was especially excited to take the real GED tests.
Part 2. Homeschooling for grown-ups.
So, I'm in the GED program. What happens next? Well, the first thing they do is they try to determine what I should be learning. The first thing they do is they let me take a locator test. I can't show that because that was offered to me at the facility, and I can't really take it home with me. But suffice to say, once you finish the locator tests, the instructors use your results to determine what kind of units you should be placed in for your curriculum. And then that means you can log into another website to access the curriculum. So let's see how much I can show of that without breaking privacy stuff. Okay, so you get put in courses based on what you need to learn. I will point out that these two language arts ones are for writing because I've already demonstrated great proficiency in reading skill. It's just writing essays I'm having trouble with, so I figured this would help. Then of course there's the science, social studies, and math. Interesting thing about social studies, this was actually the second one they placed me in. The first one had a lesson that required Adobe Flash, which, as you all know, is long dead. So they had to replace it with a more up-to-date one that used the proper stuff. So anyway, once you pick the course, the first thing that happens is you have all of these units, right? And for each unit, you have a pre-test, and how you do on that determines like what stuff you don't have to do, which means you can just do the stuff that you're slipping a bit on. And then once you're done with that, you can take a post-test and see how much you've learned compared to the stuff on the pre-test. Rinse and repeat with different subjects and different units. And basically, in each unit, in each lesson, there is a collection of slides of things to read, little quizzes that you can take, videos that you can watch, all sorts of fun activities. And then when you finish a thing, then you get to do what's called a mastery test, where you basically have to get at least 80% of the questions correct to pass that lesson. If you don't pass the lesson, you can ask your instructor to help you out as needed. Sorry to interrupt the video abruptly, but I wanted to add an amusing anecdote I recently remembered, because I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to talk about it again. See this image? That is oil and water, and that was from one of my science units. I showed it in one of my Discord group chats because I thought it was amusing how it kind of looked like mustard. When someone pointed out to me it was olive oil, I clarified that I didn't know anything about olive oil. And that conversation spiraled into a thing that I didn't know anything about cooking, or car maintenance, or laundry, or living on my own because I live with my parents. And I'm 28 years old. It was a real eye-opener. Sure, it seemed like he was putting me down, but at the end of the day, I think it was building character. It gave me motivation, a reason to continue. Anyway, now back to this. The agreement I entered with the program is that I'm supposed to do this for 5 hours every week and email my instructors once a week with my progress. It's basically, you gotta keep up some kind of communication to show that progress is being made or that you need help or whatever. And then at some point, if you feel like you've done enough that you think you're ready, you could tell them that you would like to take the GED Ready practice test. And this is one of the reasons I did the program, is that you will receive a voucher that you can redeem for a free practice test in a subject of your choice. I don't know how many times they can offer this, but it's a good thing I only needed one, let's say. Because, I feel like if you fail too many times, they're just going to make you pay out of pocket, which I think is $13 per subject for the practice, and then $43 something per subject for the real thing. So you take the practice test, and it's basically a sample of stuff you might expect on the real thing. You get a score, it tells you how likely you are to pass. If you're not likely to pass, it gives you a study guide of things you should be brushing up on to improve. And if you are likely to pass, it encourages you to schedule an appointment. And because I'm doing it with this class program, they do give me free vouchers to take the real test. And I will say this much about the tests: I'm not going to reveal anything about the questions and answers because I signed some NDAs, but I will say that even though I have no nervousness about the contents of the tests and whether or not I'll pass, I still dread the days they come because they involve getting up in the morning, and y'all probably know by now I'm a night owl. So anyway, you go to the place, you do your test, you get your score, and you hope you pass. Let me just bring up my scores real quick. So before I reveal my scores, I want to give you the context of what each score means. The maximum possible score you can get on a GED test is 200, of which you only need 145 to pass. But there are also two other hoops you can aim for. If you score above 165, then you pass with college ready status, which means you can bypass remedial courses if you go to college for a thing that would require these courses. And if you score above 175, you can get credits. And if you know anything about college, I shouldn't have to explain credits to you. So, with that in mind, the first test I took was in math, and I got a 187. And that was back in February. I think I started this in January or maybe late 2024. Anyway, the next one I took was in social studies, and I scored a 172. And that was a month ago in May. And at the time I'm recording this video, I just finished science with a 174. And I will admit, it was higher than I expected. These are how I did on the respective practice tests. So I can say I'm proud of myself. I'm honestly shocked I did well in the science, considering I was starting to slip. I'll explain like my thought process there in a second. So the trend is a good sign for my language arts practice score of 179. I will be taking that one next week. I hope I do really well. Next part of the video will actually reveal that score because I'll be filming it on the day I open that score. To give you guys a little bit about my thought process going into each of the respective real tests. Math was the first one I did. I didn't like being up in the morning, and I didn't like going into places where I needed to show my ID, sign NDAs, and sit at a computer quietly doing the test. But like, it's the kind of thing you get over with time. And once you do enough of these and it becomes a routine, then it's no big deal. Math itself was nothing. I'm the king of math, so of course I'd eat that up. Social studies, I was a little bit nervous because like I didn't really do that much of the coursework because a lot of my time was focused on like math and science and everything else. But I did manage to retain enough information to understand concepts of history and economics and things like that. So, and the fact that I could read charts was really helpful. But science was the one that was kind of making me crap bricks. Because with science, this was after I did math and social studies, so all I was doing in the coursework at the time was science and language arts. And with science, I did most of the things that I could do, and everything else, it was hard for me to find the motivation to retain the information. It's like every time I tried to cram some new thing in my head, I would forget 3 old things. And when I saw the practice score of 166, I was scared because I felt like my brains were slipping. So I wanted to take the test as fast as possible. Like, not speed through the test, but like get on the test quickly. That's why I scheduled it for the day I'm recording this, and I didn't wait until July or August or whatever. But it was like a weird roller coaster. Like, I started out like getting into a groove, figuring out my footing. Then midway through, I was at the peak of my anxiety. I felt like I was gonna shit my pants. But then, like, as it went on, and I got more calculator questions, or I got more stuff that's more my area of knowledge, that's when I started to calm down, and in the end, I did really well. My thought process with language arts coming up next week is I do not have any struggles in language arts now. Like, I did the practice essay, and although my instructors did not score the practice essay, I felt in such a comfortable groove writing that thing that I think I got the hang of it. And with a practice score on the multiple choice portion of 179, I have no reason to believe that I'm going to screw it up. Although that's probably when the universe likes to kick me down, is when I'm building myself up. But, you know, whatever. That's just me doubting myself. I need to stop doing that. The only thing that bugs me really about the upcoming language arts test is I have to get up earlier in the morning. So to give you a timeline, my other tests started at 10 a.m., which meant I had to have my ride pick me up to take me there at 9 a.m., which meant I had to wake up at 8 a.m. So that is already hell for me as a night owl. But for language arts, because it's longer on account of being an essay portion, take all those times I just said and slash 30 minutes off of each. Yeah, this is gonna hurt me, but I think it'll be worth it, because once I finish this, I can hopefully put this chapter behind me. Part 3. The big reveal, which in hindsight may not actually be that big because the video is almost over. Guess this is it, huh? The point of no return. Oh, sorry if you see like a glare of daylight behind me. I'm actually filming this at 5:25 p.m., which is not really normal for me because I usually film these things at nights. But the reason I'm doing this is because I actually finished taking my last GED test about 6 hours ago. I came home 2 hours later, had a nap. I've had some time to calm down and adjust myself. And I think I'm finally ready to look at these scores. I'm sharing this sacred moment with you, so let's do it. I've come so far. There's like the moment before this and the moment after this. Like, this is a major stepping point in my life. My heart's been racing the whole time through the exam, and now I'm ready to see how I did. This could be the end. This could be my final answer. Let's have a look. They're all there. It's official, you're now a GED grad. Check your email for how to receive your diploma and transcripts. Holy crap. I did it. How'd I did it? How'd I do? Language arts, 180! That's my second best. That's like slowly behind math. Compare that to the practice. Like 1 point ahead. How? Holy crap. I guess it really is like a flu shot. Like, I was anticipating pain, but it wasn't that bad, and it was over before I knew it. I am very grateful that I got the opportunity to do this. And now that I got it all off my chest, I want to thank y'all for, like, coming along for the journey. Like, I know it feels like you weren't around for much, and that's because I abridged everything. But, like, this was a big part of my life. I've been meaning to get this done for a long time. And now that it's finally done, I feel like things are going to open up for me. I could do anything. I could find a job. I could go to college. I could touch grass. But don't think that means I'm leaving y'all behind. YouTube has been a very good creative outlet for me. I love making YouTube videos. I love doing live shows, and that's not going away. I will continue doing this as long as it's feasible to do so. And if there's any big changes that have to come to my schedule for live things, I'll let you know. But for now, I'm still M-Page, you're still the people, and I'm still here to make videos. I want to give special thanks to people at Michigan Works and the Iosco-Orisa School District for making this possible, and my instructors, Kayla Doddridge and Denise Brown, who believed in me at a time when I couldn't find it in me to believe in myself. And I also noticed throughout this journey, I picked up a new channel member. He'll probably go away after a while, but that does remind me. Big thanks to my paid channel members. Pixar 415, Siptal 720, Raptor 1132, Wayfinder 39. Check you guys later. Peace.